Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're happy to host this event for you today as a behalf of Silicon Valley. We're happy to welcome our today's speaker, Alexandr Bitar. Let's all be active and engaged listeners. Alexander, I'm giving the floor for you.
Thanks, Irina. I guess we should start now, right?
Yes.
All right. Just a sec. Quick test ritual. Does everybody see my screen correctly? Is everything all right?
Yes.
Okay, so without further ado, let's dive straight into it. I should first start with saying huge thanks, Irina, Silicon Valley community, and special thank you to Tech People KZ community. That, yeah, for inviting me today. And yeah, I should give you some intro for you to know me before we dive into the AI topic. This lecture is not about me, so this will take about 30 seconds. Key areas here to cover. My main expertise lies into three domains. First one is product management. Second one is cutting edge technologies like AI, computer vision, and so on and so forth. And third one is user experience, user interfaces, and user research, and everything that lies in the intersections of these domains. As for my recent projects, I do have some experience in founding AI products from 0 to 1, but more on that subject later. And recently I was an invited guest, an expert for Yandex on AI, user experience, and user interface matter. And also, I'm lucky enough to have a mentor from OpenAI, whom I do tend to collaborate with. That's why there is semi-transparent OpenAI logo, and also for me to show off. That's it about me. So, in terms of the lecture framework, this lecture is not about me, it's about you and me giving you some valuable information. So should you have any questions at any moment of the lecture, for instance, if you want to ask me some more detailed questions, please feel free to do so, because AI is the best showcase of a field when the more we interact with the product or with the industry, the more knowledge we tend to get. In terms of the lecture plan, it is very simple. We'll cover 4 basic topics. First one, what is AI? Don't be scared. I won't bother you with long historic remarks. We'll just go through the very fundamentals. Second one, I'll provide you with a framework and a starting point. For instance, if you haven't you haven't communicated with any AI service product whatsoever, I'll provide you with a map so you know where to start. And I also share a couple of useful links that I do use every day myself. And the third and fourth points will go through the main risks. It's a cruel world we do live in, so every technology, especially as transformative as AI, does carry lots of risks. So we'll go through them. I will provide you with a framework on how to navigate these confusing times we live in. So I guess that's enough with the introductions. Let's dive into the first block. What is AI? We need to understand that the term artificial intelligence has been there for a while, for almost like a half of a century. So it's very, very broad field. It describes any systems, mechanisms, functions, including hardware and software, that do imitate some human functions or skills. And as every broad field, it does contain a certain amount of layers to this. Two most notable ones are machine learning and deep learning. These are basically algorithms that based on certain amounts of data, training data, they may or may not predict the next outcome or the next happening. So machine learning and deep learning are broadly used with in statistics, in data analysis, and in image recognition. And lately, we have discovered the term generative AI. Generative AI, it's basically deep learning on steroids. So the way it works, we have huge amounts of data, basically all of our internet data. Then we feed it into neural networks, and then based off the inputs and the long training process, we can interact with it, and it can provide us with some generated content, whether it be text, it may be images, it may be videos, music, even voices. So for you to understand this conceptually, here's a nice diagram. The way every neural network works, it is a mathematical function that tries to imitate human brain. We have the input data on the left, then we have multiple layers as our brain works, and then we have some specific outcome. For instance, in our human body, after we receive a certain amount of data like image, noise, and so on and so forth, our brain processes it and gives us the insight on what's happening around us. And this is where I need to state, oh no, that would be the next slide. That was enough with theory. All right. So generative AI is a recent development of technology of a broader term, artificial intelligence. And this is a diagram, so you know the underlying technology. Now to the more exciting part, the consumer part, which is closer to us. How does it look like? It's like, okay, artificial intelligence, great. Machine learning, deep learning, data, big data, and so on. How does it look like? How we can use it as consumers, as everyday internet users? As I stated before, generative AI has become very popular because of its first accessibility, and second, because of the user friendliness. Because in 2010s, you needed to be like a strong engineer and spend a couple of years to train all this stuff and to interact with it. But with generative AI, essentially you have a chat box that you provide with certain input. You ask a question, you ask to generate a report, a message, a draft, whatever you need. And then it thinks a little bit, and given your inputs, it provides you with an answer. The answer may vary in terms of its quality, but it's a story for another day. Right now, the most essential thing is that every generative AI provides you with a certain answer. And there are various aspects of generative AI. The most popular and most commonly used one is large language models that do tend to work specifically with text better. You all know ChatGPT, you all know Claude, you all know Gemini, Grok, Mistral, and so on. ChatGPT is the most famous one so far. And there are also some aspects of generating images. We all know Midjourney here, generating music, Suno AI here, and the most valuable ones in terms of the market capitalization are the specific tools that do use generative AI to enhance coding abilities. The most, should I say, notorious examples are Claude Code, and recent ones, Google Anti-Gravity. They all look like this. That is about the consumer part. Now, this is very important slide. Circling back to what I said on the third one. It is essentially a mathematical function. So it tends to imitate the way human brains work, but it does not have any conscious. It is still biased. And however intelligent it may be on the benchmarks or in the newspapers, in the internet, it still may generate complete nonsense. So I cannot stress this enough. Please, whenever you do interact with generative AI, despite its insane quality sometimes, despite it being very, very useful, and there are plenty of use cases, please keep that in mind. Because there have been occasions when generative AI, was misused, may I say, and sometimes it does possess a certain amount of risk. But I'll cover this aspect later. And our human culture shows a couple of examples from literature and from cinema. I have some cases that I cherry-picked from my teenage memory. Science fiction. In literature, we have Isaac Asimov. The most famous book on artificial intelligence is I, Robot, and two short stories that do illustrate greatly to what lengths does so-called artificial intelligence go whenever it is given instructions that are unclear, which may result in unpredictable consequences. And we also have more recent examples from cinema. All these, should I say, masterpieces, they do illustrate greatly the risks that every artificial intelligence does possess and the consequences. So please be aware. And also, we have generative AI. And as far as our subject is intro to AI, we cannot cover all these layers like AI automation, AI workflows, AI agents, which is the most viral term in 2025 and 2026, because it is simply not possible within an hour of time. But I need to state that there are some tools, some systems, and some companies that do build themselves upon the generative AI foundation. So whenever you see an AI agent term or an AI workflow term or something like that, every such tool, every such system, every technology on this matter is based on the same fundamental principle: neural networks and the chatbot. On the right side, you can see a sneak peek. That's from my personal setup, my AI team. So this is just an example of how it can be used and how it can be seen in your production pipeline. But essentially, these systems, they are like chatbots incorporated in some long processes. For instance, you're a corporate worker. You tend to send a certain email at 10 o'clock sharp. It is tiresome. You don't want to do that. So what do? You may set up repetitive tasks and integrate a generative AI to do this for you. And AI agent, it is almost the same as AI workflow, but with much, much higher level of autonomy. These are the basics on the latest derivatives from generative AI industry. Okay, the fundamentals are covered. Now, the next logical question is, where should we start? Because the AI ecosystem is huge. It's massive. It's developing every single day. It changes every single day. Every week, dozen of startups dies because Google released some new update, or ChatGPT launched a new model, or Anthropic developed a new feature. So every day we're straying further away from the moment of ChatGPT launch, and it makes scarier and scarier for normal people just to to enter this huge industry. But I promise you, it's not as as complex as it may seem. So here is the map of the main AI providers and the main aspects. As I stated before, the main one is text. There is also the voice, video, and music generation. By the way, this is the map just to illustrate to you how fast the AI industry is moving ahead. This is already outdated. So since 2023, ChatGPT has more than a dozen of models. A couple of startups like Soon AI or a couple of models, they have certain lawsuits because of consumer rights, because of creators' rights. They've been updated a couple of dozens of times. Some of startups have been killed. Some of them have been integrated into broader infrastructures. So this is the more up-to-date map for you. Here you can see a couple of lawsuits. For the leaders, ChatGPT is notorious for its lawsuits. Also Midjourney, also Stable Diffusion, and specifically music. And some of them were integrated like voice engine. Some of them are outdated or have developed a new model. And Sora was killed the week before that. So Sora 2 is no longer available, unfortunately, because it was basically unprofitable. Okay, now we do have a map. Now what? The question remains, where should we start? My recommended approach to you, no matter uh, if you're using AI or if you are interested in it, um, if you want to know how to make yourself more productive and to get some value out of it, always start with a goal. Like define what you want from it. It's just to be aware of this technology, to be aware of the principles of how it works, or you need to solve a specific problem into your career, into your business, enterprise, in your consulting work, freelance, you name it. First one is defining the goal. And then based on this goal, the best way is learn by doing. Because AI, as I've said in the beginning, it is the best example, showcase of if the material is just listened to, if you do not interact with it, if you do not gain any practice, like fingertip knowledge, it becomes almost, should I say, obsolete or useless. Because as far as you have not experienced all these, the tool responses, the way how each model, each generative AI tool interacts with you, what output it provides you, what are the specifics, the nuances that are the most valuable resource nowadays. You cannot learn just simply like tuning into a YouTube lecture. So that's the second one. And the third one. So basically what I said, my advice to you, do not roll into any courses until you try it yourself, especially not paid ones, because there are lots of courses nowadays that will sell you everything. How to become a millionaire with AI, how to use it and make $5K a month. First try it yourself and then decide whether it's worth it or not. And the fourth and most important one is use AI to learn AI, because compared to every other system or tool, there is always a learning curve. AI is no different, but AI is much, much better, is much, much friendlier because you have the same essential chat box that you can ask questions. If you do not if you're not expert enough on a particular subject or topic or tool, just ask AI and it will guide you. It will navigate you. That's about my recommended approach, where to start and how to start, which is more important. And a couple of very valuable sources for you. These are the sources I do check almost daily myself. First one is this artificial analysis AI.ai. It is the most comprehensive and cohesive website. I wanted to say open source, but I remembered it's not open source, which contains every benchmark on every latest model of every provider, whether it be text, image, music, video, and so on. So it contains all the benchmarks, and you can always check what model is better, maybe better for you, or what are the options if you want to change your provider, let's say. And a couple of YouTube channels that are very, very practical, that are very regular, and they tend not to bring too much hype to the table, which is a huge problem nowadays. So the first one is Nate B. Jones' Daily AI Strategy. He unpacks everything that happens in the AI industry, including the providers, including the hardware, the investments and market share, all this, and also political occasions. And he interconnects it into a clear, actionable steps that may be useful, may be practical, and if they're not, they're just pleasant to use, to listen to. And the two of them are Chase AI and Nick Sarayev. These are the two guys that have been there for almost 3 years, for almost 4 years now, and they have almost daily updates on how to use every model. What are the hacks? What are the nuances? What are the best use cases? What are the best scenarios? So there is a lot of value to be gained here. This is about the block of, that's the starting point. The third one, why should you care? Okay, we've covered the fundamentals. What is generative AI? What is the map of the AI providers? What are the models? What pillars does it consist of? Now, normal folks, we do ask ourselves, why should we care about any specific topic, including AI? Here's just a couple of newspapers, news from 2026 and 2025. AI was used by Pentagon, specifically Anthropic, that arguably has the most intelligent model on Earth right now. It was used in its recent activities, including war, its operation in Maduro, and airstrikes. Second one, AI hardware. The laptops, the computers that every one of us is using, they tend to get more and more expensive. And the underlying conditions for that is the AI sprint, the AI marathon that every major tech company is running now. So because there is a huge AI bet in the industry, almost more than 50% of American economy growth depends on AI now. It affects directly every single one of us in terms of simple consumer costs. Our laptops, our GPUs, our CPUs, they become more and more expensive on a daily basis, unfortunately. And there are some practical implications in terms of AI. Just to put it into perspective, you all know Deloitte, I suppose, is one of the major Big Four consulting firms, consulting and audit firms. It recently has been sued by Australian government for almost $500 million because the consulting report on how the government should strategize the healthcare, if my memory doesn't fail me, it contained AI flaws, AI generated sources, hallucinations, and a bunch of nonsense, facts that were simply not true. So these are some practical implications and showcase on how AI-related field can become of interest. And the fourth one is a bit sad, but yeah, scams. Did you know that right now most of tech firms if they do interviews via online, they all have a certain protocol. The candidate must wave his or her hand just to demonstrate that this is my face. It's not AI generated. Because there are some technologies right now, there are tools that do provide these capabilities, and it is used massively for scams. We all know text scams, but video and voice generation, it's a whole new level, especially to our elders. So these are just 4 highlights, and there are much, much more of them, including layoffs, including insane investment rounds, many. But I just wanted to name a few. You may also use these highlights to demonstrate maybe some of your more skeptic colleagues that do tend to view AI as this like overhyped technology. It may be overhyped sometimes, but it doesn't hurt a little just to know what's going on. Now, moving to the personal impact. Basically, why should you care? The reasons can be divided into 2 blocks. First one is business, entrepreneurship, freelance, corporate career, office job, whatever. Everything is connected with making money. And there is a second block, which is second priority for us, because I mean, business impact is always the first priority for everyone. But general life impact, I've already covered the personal security issue. And there are also some things connected with better user experience while surfing through the internet and while developing your products and while thinking. More on that matter later. So starting with business reality. The baseline here is when every single news outlet, most of executives, no matter the industry you're working in, whether it be consumer goods, retail, oil and gas, law, legal, finances, you name it. Most of the industries, most of the CEO and executives, and even senior and middle managers in these industries, they're already aware of AI. And the first and foremost basic rule is you need to know what's going on to be able to navigate and to use it and to know how it can be used against you. For instance, if you're an office worker, you may want to implement to automate some routine tasks that are just hideous. You don't want to do them, or you may use your AI knowledge in case you are informed to tell your manager or executive who can be deluded that he cannot just fire you and replace you with AI. Because there are lots of dangerous ideas nowadays and massive layoffs that um, tend to be very, very overhyped. And afterwards, after all these massive layoffs, recent example is Meta and Oracle. After all these massive layoffs, let's say diplomatically, some of the companies tend to hire a lot of employees back because they made the news. The AI executives, they told the board, the investors that everything's all right, everything's going according to the plan. AI is working 100%. And then business reality kicks in. So that's about the case of office worker. Same thing with freelancer. Just to make yourself more productive, save some time or maybe take on another project if you want to use AI for that. You may do it. Entrepreneurship, it's simple as day. Like uh, entrepreneurship used to need much more resources than it does now. Uh, two of my favorite examples are the support centers. Almost every bank, every firm now has a chatbot that does cover like 80% of the support cases. It's hideous from the consumer perspective, but it's very, very profitable from a business perspective. So that's one of my examples, one of my favorite examples in terms of using AI for entrepreneurship. And second one is prototyping. I mentioned already code tools. There are lots of tools here that can get you to an MVP, to a minimal version of somehow working product, enough to demonstrate to your investors, to your maybe consumers, your early users. Before generative AI, you needed a whole engineering team, a designer, and maybe a product manager, just to plan that and to bring that into production. With AI, you can do it much faster. There are also some limitations to this, but they're always there, no matter the technology. And the executive. I've already mentioned what risks does an executive pose to his or her employees if the executive is not aware of AI limitations. But a key point here is you need to know what AI is capable of to better plan your workforce and maybe to boost your team's productivity. And also to know how to plan your success story to your managers, to the board of executives, to board of investors, your stakeholders, just to better plan the expectations and manage them. Okay, so what can you do? What can you do now? We've covered where you can start. We've covered the use cases and, well, the fundamentals, of course. Uh, Simple rules. First of all, stay informed. I've given you the starting points, a couple of starting points. There are much more of them. So choose specific resources, specific influencers that you trust, and always check them carefully. Do your due diligence before you subscribe to or trust any specific influencer. Second one is experiment, because best way to learn is by practice. And another thing is learn to recognize synthetic content, because in terms of the risks and the risks from a general perspective and from a consumer perspective, synthetic content tends to make people anxious, angry, and annoyed. You may want to keep that in mind in case you want to optimize all your posts on social media with AI. And the next logical step after learning to recognize synthetic content is preserve your creativity, because the worst way to use AI is for brainstorming, is for coming up with something creative. Because remember what I've covered on the very first slides. Every generative AI, whether it be ChatGPT, Midjourney, Claude, Gemini, Mistral, or any other, it has been trained essentially on the same amount of data, all of our internet. And you imagine all the content that has been there for a while. Not very pleasant content included. So no matter how well trained it was, it is still trained on the same content that covers all the human flaws, all of our spectrum, and it may be a useful tool, but do not trust it with your life, especially with your social life, with your health. So use it, but be aware of its limitations. Yeah, and harmonically moving to the fourth topic, which is the risks. I've already mentioned security, so I will not cover it again. Just keep in mind security ones. Scams, manipulation of images, because almost every image, almost every video that you see now, it may be generated. So learn to recognize all these things, especially communicated properly to your elder folks. Our granddads, grandmas, keep that in mind. Second one is the one that is one of the most dangerous ones for us as the daily users of generative AI. It is the cognitive decline. It is a dangerous thing because it may be useful. It is very useful. I use it every day. But there are some studies, especially by MIT, by Western universities, that the people who tend to use generative AI to answer every single question, like what should I eat for lunch? Or how should I tell my kid about this particular topic? Or what decision should I make in this life-changing scenario, this life-changing choice that I do have? The people that do tend to use generative AI on a daily basis without any critical thinking whatsoever, tend to lose their cognitive abilities, which is plain and simple. If you do ask generative AI to make everything for you, like write your emails, write your reports, make the content for your slides, designing your slides. If you're a corporate worker, you know what I'm talking about. Think what may become of your work if you're out of tokens or if the certain AI provider isn't available for a moment. It is a risk, and some dangerous tendencies have been already reported. So before using it, do your work yourself. Like ask yourself, what do I want? What is the picture of success that I want uh, to make with this particular tool? And after you have your answer to all these questions, then feel free to use it. That's the best way, proven way. And also, besides cognitive decline, there is also the effect of echo chambers. It is especially dangerous with AI execs. The most recent case is when an AI executive uh, wanted to backpedal out of a multi-million deal, and he did not want to talk to his lawyers about it, which would be the best possible decision. He instead decided to use ChatGPT. And as far as ChatGPT tends to agree with you on most things, it's called a spiral. So especially for a person that uh, doesn't take no for an answer or doesn't tend to listen to any social feedback, if you if your only channel of feedback is AI, it may be dangerous because in this case, AI will essentially say yes to everything you input in it. Your business idea, your advice on, let's take an age case, whom you should marry, what name should your kids have, what approach should you take while teaching your kids someone, or while going to a therapy, or having a serious conversation with your boss. If you delegate all the thinking to AI, well, it may lead to either cognitive decline or to a spiral of becoming delusional. I realized that despite being an AI advocate and using it daily, my lecture starts to starts to look like a doomsday scenario. But I have a specific slide for that. It is one of the myths about AI. Just in a couple of slides out of the following. And the third one is existential ambiguity. So yeah, the boundary between synthetic content and craftsmanship. It's more philosophical aspect, but I wanted to cover it just briefly because maybe some of you have experienced it already, especially when you're watching YouTube, when you're watching TikTok, maybe Instagram, Reels, you name it. There are lots of screenwritings that are heavily relying on AI. Lots of AI generated images and so on. So just keep that in mind. That's about the risks. And we all know the hype cycle. Yeah, moving on to the AI myths. Every technology, especially such as transformative as AI, always tends to pass through certain stages of the hype cycle. We had this with social media like Facebook, like Instagram. We had this with crypto. We had this with mm, NFTs that are almost forgotten now. It's a dead technology, a dead product. And AI is climbing to the peak. Some may argue it is already at the peak. So every hype cycle brings a lot of information noise. And I'll cover the information noise on the next slide. Just keep that in mind, that there's lots of stuff that's being reported. Speaking of stuff that's being reported and AI myths and how people do get AI wrong, there are three main pillars of AI myths. First one is doomsday, the apocalypse view. Like AI will end us as a civilization. It would take everything. There will be nothing for us left. As the first corner. Second corner is the magic button. AI will make you rich instantly. I make 10K with ChatGPT a day or monthly, or you don't need any expertise. You just can code an app with AI, the whole production app. That's the second corner. The most delusional people out here. Third one is dismissive. The AI skeptics that I would say radical skeptics that say that every system connected with generative AI is essentially hype. It's worthless, and it's just not. There is not enough value for you to spend your time on it. Although there are some seeds of truth to it, I still believe it's a myth. And well, it is a myth. Let's go through this one by one. The apocalypse view. As I mentioned previously, even when mass layoffs tend to happen, in most cases, it's either a success story for a specific AI executive to show that AI optimization goes according to the plan and boost the market evaluation. And after the success story of AI cutting or optimizing a certain amount of percentage or jobs, there is some quiet hiring going on. It may not be as big as the layoff itself, but it tends to happen. So although there are some industries and there are some jobs that are at risk, and we should always check ourselves whether we are at risk or not, it will not take all of our jobs for sure, at least not for now. In terms of AI being sentient or it's already out of control and will replace human thought, remember the underlying technology. AI right now is a mere mathematical function. It does not understand you. It does not have any original thoughts on its own without an input. It does not understand the human language in the sense of words. So sometimes even the most advanced model, I had a recent case this morning with Gemini 3.1, one of the top 3 models out there on the market. I asked to prepare a draft for an investor, given specific references. It failed miserably. Just because, I don't know, Google was out of tokens for this session or something like that. But still, it was one of the most intelligent models out there, which showcases that no matter how valuable they may be, no matter the outputs they provide you, no matter how impressive the benchmarks are, they still may be wrong at the end of the day. Second one is the magic button view. Well, it's a good rule of thumb. If there is something easy, especially if it's an easy way to get rich, it's a scam, plain and simple. Especially with the no expertise needed talking point. Please do not believe those people that say, "Oh, I built a whole production up just using AI." It's called vibe coding when you don't know the underlying technology, when you do not know how to code or any coding language, but you using AI, you get to a certain amount of results. You get to MVP, maybe even version one product. Maybe it's almost ready for showcasing. But without understanding how the code works, what are the principles of data architecture, of the system architecture, system design, there are lots of topics out there. Please um, do not be scammed using believing that you will not need engineers. That's the magic button myth. And the third one, it's worthless view. Well, the third one is, yeah, it is just autocomplete, but we have all these massive investments and we have all these boosts in code production, in product development cycles. All of them become much, much faster nowadays because of generative AI, or should I say thanks to generative AI. For instance, I'm not an expert in creating Figma designs, like full system designs. I'm an expert in product design and how it may be used for better user experience. But to create myself from scratch a whole production design would take me a lot of time. With AI, the amount of time that it takes me becomes much, much less. It becomes shorter, it becomes faster. As for real experts don't use AI, talking point. Well, if we look at the main consumers, the main clients of every AI model provider, most of them are enterprises. The most heavy users out there are enterprises, especially in the tech industry, especially in the coding, engineering, and legal tasks. There are huge, huge amount of investments out there. So if it wasn't true, if it was all completely made up, we wouldn't see that. And in terms of the passing trend, well, history will show because AI industry is not very sustainable right now. So every major model provider, OpenAI, Anthropic, is not profitable yet. And the recent is the biggest amount of capital raised in a single stage of funding, more than $100 billion for OpenAI, more than $32 billion for Anthropic, second best model provider out there. They're still not sustainable. They still have to figure that out in terms of the unit economics and the profitability. But the amount of impact that has already been delivered by Anthropic, OpenAI, and Google, it's enormous. I mean, for my design workflows, for my product workflows, not mentioning the engineering ones and copywriting ones, all my routines have shifted with integration of AI instruments. So this one is also a myth. Wrapping it all up, another thing to note there, media literacy. As we previously covered, every hype trend tends to carry a lot of noise there, a lot of noise. And before diving or believing any piece of information you see in the internet, in the newspaper, in your favorite Telegram channel, whatever it may be, please keep in mind the conflict of interest. There are three main groups. First one is AI executives and investors. So the people whose money, whose careers, and I mean big money and big careers depend on it, depend on AI being successful, depend on AI being almost like from the science fiction. So whenever an AI executive, whenever a CEO tells you that AI will take your jobs in the next 3 months, please keep in mind that this particular executive depends on it. Otherwise, well, his board of investors will ask him, hey mate, what are we doing here? Second one is media outlets. It's simple. You know that without me. The sensationalism, the virality, the more hyperbolized, the more shouting name to a particular news is displayed there, the better for your views. Therefore, the better for your economics. And the third one is AI influencers. Please, for the love of God, do not use LinkedIn as your main source if you're in search of some AI-related information. YouTube is better in that relation, but still, all of these AI influencers, they all have the same funnel. AI will take your job tomorrow. You need to be scared. Give me your money. We all know this. It has been done with crypto and the same with AI. So please keep that in mind. And well, rules of thumb. Basic media literacy 101. Trace the true source. Identify the speaker motive. Separate facts from promises and rely on personal testing. The last one, I would like to specifically focus on it. In AI, you have the ability to test all these technologies yourselves. If someone says ChatGPT is better than Claude or ChatGPT is better than Google's Gemini, do not trust the source. Do not trust the media outlet. Try it yourself. Figure out what works best for you, for your specific use case. Because every model tends to perform better in a specific environment, in a specific use case, whether it be legal or copywriting or image generation or a bunch of other things. Trust yourself, your practice, and remember, it is much, much more available now than it has been before. So I hope I hope the whole context was not doomsday-ish. But there's a lot of risks and there is a lot of noise out here that I wanted to unpack. And also I did not want to make any over promises, like over exaggerated promises on how AI will make you rich. It is a story for another day, but that depends on your feedback and on Terracan Valley. I guess that's it in terms of the content for today. That would be the intro into AI in 2026. And well, thanks for listening to me. I'm looking forward to your questions. Uh, okay, the first one is from Sergey. Uh, I can reply in English. In terms of, so the question for you, now, why ChatGPT is the most popular model out there? Um, there are two reasons for that. First one, ChatGPT was the first. So OpenAI was the first major model provider that launched, like had a huge launch. So because they were the first, they had this viral effect, and they had lots of investments and lots of persons of interests that were involved. That's why their CEO, Sam Altman, he was on almost every major podcast in every major news outlet. He was talking about the product, he was showcasing it, and they were first to shape the narrative. And then Anthropic, basically, it evolved from a couple of executives and part of OpenAI's original team. So, short answer, they were the first. And the second one is because they were the first and because they had distribution, and they also had this time handicap. So they had opportunity to develop one of the most capable models today. So still ChatGPT 5.4 and the coding tool Codex, OpenAI Codex, they are one of the top two providers out there. I hope that answers your question. So yeah, действительно ли это лучше и для обычных пользователей? Yeah, as I said, it is one of the top two, top three models. Definitely worth to check it out. Uh, Igor, how can business integrate AI into their work effectively? There is a lot to unpack here. Uh, the short answer is depends on the business, depends on the use case, depends on what is the goal you want to achieve. If it's automation, if it's support center, if it's email or AI note taker for your meetings, there are tools to do that. And in terms of effectively, it's a huge and very, very painful topic because the numbers of AI adoption right now, they are not so impressive. Like Microsoft reports like huge AI adoption numbers, but in fact, people that do tend to use AI tools in their corporate routine, it is at best double digits, at best, sometimes less than 10%, but depends on the industry. So keeping it short, how can business integrate AI into their work effectively? Def Defining what goal, what problem does this particular business want to serve? Second one, discover the best tools out there that suit specifically to this business. And third one, establish a clear adoption routine for the employees in the corporation. Because one of the major bottlenecks that I've seen myself, especially when during my digital transformation in PepsiCo, in Central Asia, if the team does not understand the final outcome, the goal, why this specific tool, let's say it's AI, why do they need them? What is their personal interest? They will not do that. And they will all pose a huge threat to your adoption. This is, I know it may sound as a general answer to you. If it was not too specific, you may ask about the industry that may interest you, and I may elaborate on that. But I hope that answers your question. Nikita, did you create this presentation using AI? That's a good question. I would be a bad AI adopter if I did not use AI to boost my productivity. But I'll cover this topic after the questions section. Thank you. The best AI tools for creating presentations. There are some out there. There are Gamma AI, which is the leader. There is Chronicle HQ, and there is Beautiful .ai. And there's also my tool that I wanted to announce today, but after I give you all the value I wanted. So in terms of the prompting and technical requirements for AI, the rule of thumb is be very specific, understand the picture of success, and how to avoid spending more time fixing errors than creating presentations yourself from scratch. Well, the quick answer to that, how do you avoid? It comes with practice. First, one, you need to get some practice using different AI tools to know their strengths, to know the outputs, and to know their limitations. And based on your practice, based on your experience, you may then decide whether it is worth using this specific AI tool for, let's say, a business report, a meeting at your office work, or you name it. So wrapping it all up in terms of using AI, gain practice, gain your specific experience, fingertip knowledge, know the limitations, learn the limitations, and adjust yourself according to your specific goal or to the specific use case. If I wasn't specific enough, I'm happy to elaborate. Thank you, Sergey. I hope that was valuable, and Arina will share the materials afterwards. So you'll have the access both to the slides and to the links I've shared with you. Igor, what skills should I develop to stay relevant in an AI-driven world? What do you think? Well, unpopular, maybe even hot take. The most important let's say direction, not specific skill, but direction, is the human take and humanly enriched expertise on a specific industry. What do I mean by that? In a world when everyone can ask a simple question to ChatGPT and get a somewhat okay response, the industry you are working in, that you have a certain domain expertise in, this fingertip knowledge, it is what differentiates you from any person from the street who just ask a couple of questions to ChatGPT. So based on that, I would give you a couple of pieces of advice. First one is learn how unique your knowledge is, because there is some like deep domain expertise, for instance, system architecture, machine learning, or like some technological like hardware, robotics, space industry that is not just covered with a couple of ChatGPT questions. If your expertise is not as deep, and you know it can be synthesized after a couple of days with ChatGPT, then you need to pivot. You need to explore some other, maybe industries, maybe areas, to make yourself irreplaceable with a simple AI agent. Wrapping it all up. First one, identify your expertise like the portrait. Second one, make an audit, brutally honest audit, whether you are at risk and what the level of risk may be. And third one is get practice using AI tools, depending on your specific goal. And one more question: how can we protect ourselves from AI security risks like voice scams? Well, that's tough because yeah, the first rule we've already covered. First one is when you are using these tools like 11 Labs, top one AI voices provider right now, one of the fastest growing companies nowadays. When you're using these tools, you know what they're capable of, and you know how they sound like, whether they be written or whether it be maybe like a bunch of sounds or voices, you will recognize them easily. For instance, I'm surfing YouTube almost daily. I spot immediately like AI generated script or AI generated voice because I myself used them, these AI voices. There is a limited amount of options of AI voices out there. So two things. First one, get your practice, do your research. And second one, just being aware of them does not make you 100% safe and secure, but basically everything that's connected with your accounts, with money, and with some other like life-changing things, you need to establish a specific, let's say, framework or approach for verifying whether this particular request or message or bit of like piece or bit of information that is thrown at you is true. One story. I had a chat with my mother. We messaged like back and forth, and after she was out of the internet for a day, she responded to one of my messages with a response that at that particular day something was a bit off, or so I thought. So I asked two specific questions that only my mother would know answers to, or my family would know answers to. And after verifying that this is actually my mother's account, it was not hijacked, it was not a scam. We left afterwards, but it was a necessary step for me to make sure, because that specific the shape of words, the shape of sentence that she replied with It looked very, very much like AI-generated text. Yes, that's a sad story because sometimes even the normal human speech, it may sound like AI. It's a whole new level of learning to recognize synthetic content. Nikita, I think the most important quality for people in our world is the ability to take responsibility. Yeah, that's true. That's also true. When all tasks are solved by AI and responsibility cannot be delegated to, this should become a key quality. Yeah, that's a great point. Uh, that's to the question Sergey was asking in terms of, and Igor also, in terms of the skills that you should or should not develop in order to become more and more valuable or to stay valuable in the fast-moving AI world. Besides technical ones and practice, there is always the human element to it. For example, if you're a salesperson, no one will replace you soon enough because no one establishes human connection as humans do, at least in person. No one understands the human problems, pains, and flaws as humans do. And at the end of the day, even if you're an entrepreneur and you want to optimize your costs as much as possible, you need a team, how small it may be, no matter how small it may be, the ability to take responsibility for your actions, for the outcome you deliver, whether it be code, presentation, report, consulting deck, no matter. The ability to be responsible and to take responsibility when things that may not go as planned is the inherently human skill and unique I want to say function, but it's not the right word here. Yeah, it's uniquely human. Getting philosophical right now. Any other questions? Well, one of two things. Either the lecture, Nikita, third question in a row. I salute to you, man. Yeah, it's not a question. Yeah, it's the next logical conclusion after responsibility take. I may be either very, very happy person or unhappy. Depends on what is the number of questions, what the number of questions actually means. It may mean one of two things. First one, all the presentation, all the slides were so clear and so transparent that there were no topics to cover. In this case, I would be a happy man. But the second case is there are lots of things to unpack. Anyway, I'll be looking forward to your feedback. Irina, I
Yes,
guess your turn now.
yes, thank you for this lecture. And I want to thank also our audience because I think that questions is so important for the people who don't have any questions, but they can look for the presentation more deeply after the question. So thank you to the audience and also thanks to you for this interesting lecture, for the interesting topic also. So if you don't have anything, you have something. So
Speaking of which, yeah, by the way, on the question slides, there is a CEO of NVIDIA, arguably the first most beneficial man in the history of AI. It's most valuable company nowadays. But that's about history. There was a question about AI generated tools. So this deck was made with my tool. and I'm happy to announce my public beta launch. Not to waste your time, plain and simple. If you want to delegate the final design of your slides to a tool, and there are tools out there, I've mentioned them already, that are not quite good, let's be honest, you may use ours. You may be the first ones to use them because we're launching at this exact moment right now. So you may try it now for free, and you may join our Discord server. Be my guests. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. See you on the next Silicon Valley events. I hope that we will see you again, and also guys who listen this lecture, we hope that we will see you again too on our lectures. So have a good evening to everyone. Goodbye.
Sure. Take care. Arina, should we stay for a couple of moments? Thank
No?
you. Thank you, Nikita.
Goodbye.
In terms of the demo, yeah, it will be in the slides.
Окей.
О, у нас еще запись идет, нет?
Да, еще идет.
Я предлагаю выключить, потому что
Да.
уже, по идее, все.
Все. Так,
Все.
это запись, да, контролирую не я, наш технический модератор. Секунду. Так, запись выключена.